Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers, a very belated video. I've got a Lenovo G50 here. This is a G5080 to be exact. And the customer is reporting there's no power, so it doesn't power on. So let's take a look at this thing and see if we can figure out why. So I'll just plug in an adapter here, so we'll just plug a charger in. And from our power meter there, you can see we're getting 850 milliamps. So that is, so yeah, that's like sort of 15, 18 watts, something like that. There is a light on the front. It looks like this thing has power, but it doesn't turn on. But the thing is, the power button doesn't feel like there's any action there. And by action, I mean there's no click, there's no feedback, there's no tactile sense. It feels to me like the power button is busted. And given that, you know, it's visually pretty tattered, I think this power button is just broken. So let's roll the intro and we're going to take this thing apart and see if we can do anything about that. So I'll see you guys after the graphics. So to take this thing apart, we're going to start by pulling the battery out and just zapping out any screws that we can see. This is what I would refer to as an old style laptop design, where the keyboard lifts out from the top. So basically anytime you see a laptop like this one, where you've got a visible seam around the keyboard, in all probabilities the disassembly procedure is going to be find some screws on the bottom that are holding the keyboard on, then take the keyboard out the top, then take out the rest of the screws, and then the palm rest will come off. So there we go, that slides. This laptop is kind of old, if I'm honest. I've noticed we've got a good old Toshiba hard drive there. I think this is probably what I would refer to as a make good repair, where like, I don't think this laptop is going to give the customer a good user experience. But sometimes the customer is not interested or is not ready to upgrade yet, so we do what I call a make good repair. So we just want to make the thing work, basically. And that's why when we get to fixing this, that power button, most likely it's got its own dedicated small circuit board, and a replacement power button board is probably going to be fairly inexpensive on eBay, but even still, we don't really want to start buying spare parts and stuff like that for this. So we may end up just doing some kind of bodge repair that will just get it by, just so this laptop can limp on just long enough for the customer to replace it. Because like, if we wanted this thing to be good, it's going to need an SSD as well. Speaking of which, could this... There we go. It's going to need an SSD to actually be viable as well. It does have 8 gigs of RAM though, so you know, that's something. And did I see i3 on that? Yeah, it's got an i3 in it. You know, that might only be like a 2nd gen i3 or something like that, but it's not a complete potato. Okay, right, that's all the screws on the bottom removed. So now we'll open it up. And prying tool down here. Start in the middle, get fingers under the middle of the keyboard, and then just poke along the top where it's catching. There we go. Right, and there's no screws. I'd normally expect to see some more screws down here, but there are none. So theoretically, if we just remove these extra flexes, you should find that this guy's ready to open up. So I'm just going to jam my prying tool down the side and just see if this thing will pop open. I'm not convinced that the top is coming off. I think the bottom might come off. Let's do a quick check. Ooh. Oh no, when I push this up, the motherboard is staying attached to the bottom, so I was right. It is the top case that will come off here. I think that just requires me to commit to it. There we go. Okay, right, we're in. And the power button is on the back of the top case there. So I'm immediately going to close this and put it to one side. And there's another screw here, so we'll just zap that guy out. There's our power button board. Oh yeah, that's just kind of destroyed. The actual dome is gone. I'll get the microscope out and give you a close-up of that. So there's your problem. That's the power button, and that's supposed to be a tactile switch. So there should be a little silver dome across the top of that, a little circle of metal that pops in and out and actually makes the tactile click of the button. And when the dome presses down, it bridges that center circle to the outer ring, thus making the button contact across it. And on a typical power button, there'll be like a 3.3 volt signal coming in, and the power button will connect it to ground. So it pulls that signal low, which signals the EC to switch on. But that's not getting pulled low, and yeah, blah blah blah. The dome is nowhere to be seen. That's probably just shaken and fallen out somewhere. That'll be gone. So yeah, basically it's a question of can we replace that? Pretty low profile. I'm going to pause a second, have a rummage around and see what I've got in my spares. Right, I've got a whole load of tactile buttons, but they're all large through-hole devices designed for, you know, like push-button controls and power buttons and stuff like that. I don't have any small surface mount things like this. The closest I can find is this reel of buttons that I found, like that. So these are a different size, but that doesn't matter. It's just a button. If we can make it sit in the right place and bridge the right connections, then it'll do. So I'm going to see if I can make this work. I've got millions of these things. I think I bought them originally when I was fixing a car key fob, so a car unlock remote, because the buttons on those routinely get demolished by repeated button pushes. Right, let's put that there. Let's take a closer look there. All right, it's pretty small. All right. This is kind of a dumb repair. Right, let's do some quick sanity checking. Firstly, can we find the correct kind of button for this? Let's hit up eBay. So the reason why I'm going to eBay for this and not like an electronics supplier is because I want to buy just like a button. And eBay is one of the few places where you can buy like single units without paying. I mean, you'll pay like a pound or two for a single button, but that's better than paying like £20 after postage and packaging and all the rest of it. So let's see, SMD, tactile, and have we got? I need a size of this. Where are my calipers? That seems to be about 5mm. So let's try SMD tactile 5mm. Okay, so again, these are sort of through-hole things. I've got millions of these, but these are all very tall, which is the issue. I need them to be ultra flat. That's more like it. 4x4 by 1.5. We don't know if this thing... we don't know if this thing originally had that silver housing on top of it. I would guess yes, but it's hard to tell. That would probably do the job, actually. I'll open that in a new tab. Five by 5 by 1.5. Oh, also though, oh no, that's in the UK. That's fine. Yeah, this one is 5 by 5 millimeters, which is closer. However, it's from China, so For context, it's the 5th of December, so that's going to be a month, maybe more, to show up. I don't want to wait that long. So, yeah. Various here. Let's have a look at that. Oh, they're all 4.4. Yeah, they're all 4x4 millimeters, and they're out of stock of the super thin ones, 1.5 mil. So never mind. I think that's about a lot. 10 pieces again. Pack size. So let's say I want to buy 5 of them. £1.80. £2.30 for 10. How much do these guys want for 10? £2. All right. Well, this looks like a good bet. My inclination is to buy some of these, so I've got some for next time. So I'll add those to basket. So that's our replacement switch lined up. So what about just a replacement board? Can we actually just find this thing? I'm going to search for NS8364. NS_A364. Or we could get a replacement board for a tenner. Pre-owned one there. Yeah, these are all pre-owned anyway. £6. £3.45. Okay, given how cheap. There we go. So from this one, you can see the dome on there. That's what it was supposed to look like. So yeah, the sensible thing at this point is just to buy this. This seems like a no-brainer to me. And I can get it this week as well. So I think I'm inclined to buy this. What I'm going to do first, though, I'm going to see if I can fix this one just for the lols. By all common sense, it doesn't make sense for me to spend a load of time and effort trying to solder a new button onto this. £3.50 and I can just have another one in my hand. That's a no-brainer. You don't bother fixing this. You just replace it. However, I'm going to try and fix this just for the sake of science, because what if you can't find one? And also, again, it would mean that I can get the laptop fixed today. So let's get back under the microscope and see what we can do about this. Right, I've just taped this down to my soldering board, which is a used hard drive top case. So now it won't move around. And I'm going to hot air the remains of this button off the board. So here comes some hot air. We're going in at 400 degrees maximum air. I think my Captain tape is fake because it's not supposed to do that. The old stuff I was using would tank the heat. This stuff does not, so I'm fairly certain it's crap. The hot air station is too hot, so it's just melting this button. There we go. Cool. So let's just do some ground checks now. This entire area is just copper, so where is ground? Right, so our power on signal comes in here to pin 1 and this pin up here. So it goes to these two pins. These two pins both connect to ground. Beepity beep and beepity beep. So the switch is shorting that direction down. So if I were to put on this guy here, if I were to put that guy in there, it needs to sit in the middle. See, annoyingly, it would fit across those bits there, but then it would be offset. It has to be in the middle. But what I'm thinking is I could probably just use some hot glue. I could probably just use a spot of super glue just to pin that down in the middle there, and then just run a jumper wire to each pin. And that would do just fine. So I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to grab some alcohol and just clean up the center pad. Then I'm going to get a little spot of CS glue. Oh, that's a big spot. I'm going to try and soak some of that up. Good old super glue is still reliable. That should do. Right, let's get that guy down there. That'll do it. Right, and I'm just going to try and accelerate the glue a little bit with some warm air. I'm just going to blow hot air station at 100 degrees. There we go. And next, I'm just going to soldering iron some 2 tiny jumper wires across there. And these only need to be tiny little wires because it's literally just a signal that just needs to be pulled to ground. So I'm going to warm up my soldering iron and I'm going to use this magnet wire I've got. This is a 0.1mm wire. It's very small. Again, could use much bigger stuff and that would be okay, but I'm just grabbing whatever comes to hand here. If we were actually going to do this properly, we would just wait 2 days and get another board. However, like I said, I kind of want to just make good on this one for the sake of science. So I've got to burn off the end of the wire here. So I'm just going to come over here and just give this a bit of a rub on the soldering iron. Sometimes this works for me and sometimes it doesn't. Actually, I'm going to do it on the edge of the board, actually. Because my soldering mat is a chunk of metal. Which might explain why it never seems to work for me. Alright, that'll do. Right, let's try and tin the edge of that thing. Right, because I'm putting the soldering iron to where there's glue, it'll vaporize some of the glue, and that is nasty stuff. Don't get it in your eyes. It's not like flux smoke where it's where it's bad for you but you'll live. CS vaporized super glue is like it's like acid in the air. So yeah, just be aware of that. This is not going to plan. My solder ball is sitting on the top. Right, now we'll just see if this guy wants to stick. That'll do. And now I've just got to melt through the insulation on this spot specifically. We're on a ground plane. I'm using a very small tip here. So it's being a little bit stubborn. There we go. And I'll just fatigue that off. No, I won't. I will cut it off. I will be sensible. And now the top. Oh, whatever this wire is trying to do, it's doing it wrong. I need to get rid of that massive solder blob. we go. There we go. Now a bit of alcohol to clean up. There we go. It's a work of art. I love it. So that actually has some tactile feedback now. So let's poke it with the probes and we should find that it's actually actuating a power button. So I'll put one probe on the top and another to any of these pins. There we go. And now, when I push on the button, we should get a beep. Nice. Cool. That's working just fine. So, I'm going to lob this back in the laptop, and that should work. So, this is a bit of a ghetto fix, but it meant that I could fix the laptop now in one sitting instead of having to order parts and wait for them to show up. I think realistically speaking, it would have been sensible to just get another power board, but I think little repairs like this are fun to do now and then, just because it's not a matter of, is this the best way to do it, but this is really good. This is a really good way to practice. If you're a bit scared of doing really small soldering jobs and like you're looking for excuses to practice with magnet wire and working under a microscope and stuff like that, this is a really easy way to sort of do something simple where it's a very easy patch wire job that doesn't need to be super accurate or super tidy, but just work. And yeah, it's good for practice. Let's get this back in the laptop. Now, if you are trying to bodge in a button that's not designed to fit, the one thing you've got to be aware of is just the height of the button. My one, if anything, might be a little bit too low. So the button, the power button, is sitting like 0.5 mil low. That should be flush with the top, but there's actually a slight indent. But like this button is knackered anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like just visually, it's pretty untidy. So I don't think anyone's going to care about that. But if the button that I'd put on was too tall, then it won't fit in and it'll just jam the button down. So that is completely no bueno. But that actually has action. So you can hear that's actually got a click to it now. So we know it's going to work. I don't think I'm going to charge a whole lot for this repair. Certainly not the amount of money that you should charge if you're switching on a soldering iron in order to fix something. But that's kind of not the point of this video. I think the point of this video was just to show you how to give you ideas on improvising. That's kind of the message that I'm trying to give here. Whenever I make a video, one of the things that I'm asking myself is, what's the takeaway from this? You know, why does this video exist? And this video exists to show you how to improvise, basically. When I talk to the customer about this laptop and what we've done with it, I will probably have a conversation with them about, you know, what direction they're going in with this. I think it's worth putting an SSD in this thing. If they are, you know, if they don't want to part with this laptop, then I would say put an SSD in it, and that would be fine. With the cost of SSDs these days, that would be very cheap to do. Oh, come on, keyboard. So I'll probably try and upsell them on an SSD as well. And I won't show you that process in the video because it's not particularly exciting. But we'd take this Toshiba hard drive image that across to like a Crucial MX 500 or something like that, and lob that in there. And this laptop would truck on for a bit. Failing that, you can buy Dell Latitude laptops reconditioned on eBay for really cheap these days, and those make for excellent refurbished laptops for customers who have got aging laptops. I never used to be a big fan of reconditioned laptops, but now we're at the point where cheap ex-business laptops are like less than £200 on eBay, and that's with 8 gigs of RAM and a 250 gig NVMe SSD, which just makes a whole lot of repairs or even upgrades to laptops like these just, why would you bother, you know? And in a way, it's a shame to just immediately write everything off and be like, nope, new laptop. But also, you've got to be realistic, you know. Why would you bother? Like, if this thing had 4 gigs of RAM in it, an SSD is going to cost you 50 quid. Another 4 gigs of RAM is going to be, what, 20 quid? So that's £70. If you're charging, you know, if I charged a £60 flat fee for servicing the laptop, you know, now we're up to, you know, 130, maybe £140 kind of thing. And suddenly you could say, yeah, or we could just replace that with a Latitude that's half the age, double the performance, and has all of these in it already. So you can very quickly see how these things are just uneconomic to repair. And that's why I'm kind of being very blasé about a make good fix and stuff like that. I'm rambling a lot here, but I hope you get the idea. Some repair videos are all about showcasing a particular repair. Some repair videos are more about the life and times of a repair shop and the kind of decisions that we're making. And some of them we're making for the customer because, you know, essentially the customer is going to do what we advise. So we have to decide what is our advice in this situation. Right, so there's our 850 milliamps like we had before. This time we'll push the power button. And the laptop has fired up. Ooh, BitLocker. Plug in the USB drive that has the BitLocker key. Well, I sure hope the customer has that. Oh, I sure hope the customer knows their BitLocker recovery. Otherwise, this thing ain't going nowhere fast. Alright, well, I tell you what, I'll have a quick call with the customer and just find out what we're doing with this thing, just so then maybe I can update you guys on the rest of this story. Hello, this is Graham from Adamant IT, just calling about the Lenovo laptop that we have in for repair. Yeah, so probably just keeping this as a spare then. Yeah. Okay then. Well, that being the case then, this thing is ready to go, so you can come and pick it up whenever you're ready and take it away and see how you get on with it. Cool. All right, thank you. Bye. Okay, so the customer does have the BitLocker drive. They had a, I remember when they brought it in, they had a couple of widgets sticking out the side of it that they weren't really sure what they were for, but they were there, and I always give that back to the customer so I don't have to look after them. So one of those must have been a little flash drive that had the BitLocker recovery key on it. So they've got that on hand, so plug that in and it'll start right up. They have bought a new laptop already because they needed it for work. And so it sounds like, based on our conversation, they're going to be keeping this as just a spare laptop. So this make good repair is just good enough that if they have any problems with their new laptop, they can just switch this one and use it. They said they do a lot of eBaying and stuff like that as well. So having a laptop on the side just with eBay on it and stuff is also useful, and that can be useful to them. You know, they've got their main work lap on a desk and another one to the side that's just got eBay on it kind of thing. I can see the value in that. So it sounds like we're not going to do anything else with this laptop for now, but I said to the customer, you know, see how you get on with it. And if you find you want anything else doing, give us a call. So that's the end of the story of this one. So quick repair just to make good. And this laptop is useful for browsing the internet and such. That's the end of the video. Thank you to, as always, to all my patrons and supporters and subscribers and channel members. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.